30 years of joyfulness. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Newsnight.
Well, this bulletin is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Well, tonight, the cost of carelessness, medical negligence drains 10 million cedis annually from Ghana's healthcare system. We have more from Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Kando. We'll also speak to the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, which has issued a 24-hour ultimatum to the Ghana Police Service to arrest the ringleader and his accomplices behind the attack on healthcare workers at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital.
Also coming up tonight, the Ghana Chamber of Mines cautions the Minerals Commission to tread cautiously with a raft of new proposals, including reducing the lease duration from 30 years to 15, warning it could have grave consequences from discouraging investors to threatening jobs.
Around investment decisions and the risk that comes with the country. And therefore, we need to have a second look at it.
Owners of garage accuse Yoko, Customs and the DVLA as being complicit in the trafficking of stolen vehicles, insisting they cannot take all the blame.
How come they are unable to tell at the port that these cars are stolen until after they are on the market or even after they have been bought? All these cars undergo the necessary checks, so if they are stolen cars in the country, then it's the fault of Yoko and national security.
We'll hear from the DVLA, which says it cannot be blamed.
DVLA really has no other means of verification of a vehicle that comes in, apart from what Customs gives us.
In business,
President John Mahama warns over-regulating the telecom space will kill innovation and affect efforts to reduce unemployment in the country.
And in sports, former Black Stars coach, assistant coach Maxwell Konedu named new Black Starlets head coach.
And a bit later, Ashanti Hima's final funeral rite set for September 14th to 18th. Ban on gatherings announced. We'll be live in Kumasi for more. We have details of these and many other stories coming up tonight. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
my name is Pielo Furi.
You can join the conversation on our WhatsApp platform at 055 11 11 997. We have details after this. Well, thank you very much for joining us again here on Newsnight. Once again, you can join the conversation on our WhatsApp platform. It's 055 11 11 997. This is where we begin because the Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Kando has sounded the alarm over the alarming rate of medical negligence in the country's health sector, revealing that approximately 10 million cedis are spent annually to address these issues. Describing medical negligence as a monster rearing its head, Mr. Kando assured that the government is committed to tackling the problem head-on. Well, he was addressing the media on developments after the alleged assault on some nurses at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital last Sunday.
Medical negligence. Anytime I hear that, I clinch. We spend not less than, even in some cases, one facility, not less than 10 million Ghana cedis on medical negligence. Maybe you don't know. As a country, we don't have the money to buy the equipment, but we are spending so much. As I speak to you now, the cases on my table within this week are 3 that Attorney General has written to me to provide responses. Medical negligence. So it's a major issue that we are dealing with. So there are things we are discussing. I cannot put everything in the public domain at the moment. And at the appropriate time, we may address you on medical negligence. It's a monster rearing its head that we must deal with appropriately.
That there is the Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Kando sounding that alarm over medical negligence there.
Well, so the minister also issued a strong warning to persons who attack health workers to desist from doing so.
Well, the minister has also issued a strong warning to persons who attacked health workers to desist from doing so.
Let me at this point reiterate to the whole country that irrespective of the level of provocation at any health facility in this country, nobody, irrespective of your status in society, absolutely nobody has the right to attack any health professional in this country. That is the gravamen of the issue. No diversionary tactics about handshaking. That is what we must concentrate on, to send a clear signal that our health professionals working at the various health facilities are safe.
You heard that the Health Minister, Dr. Kwabena Minta Kando.
Well, still on this, the Association of Health Service Administrators, Ghana, which has condemned the alleged assault, has called on the security agencies to swiftly investigate and bring the perpetrators to book. The association warns such acts not only endanger the safety of medical staff, but also undermine the delivery of quality health care. Let's hear from the General Secretary of the association, Abdul Rashid Mohammed.
After the engagement with the management, when I pulled out of the wards, then in fact, in the engagement with the management, I made it clear to them that I had listened to their side of
health professionals have sworn to protect the life of the vulnerable and sick. And so there should not be any circumstance that will warrant the same persons that we have sworn to protect inflict pain and harm on us when we are actually there to help and save them. We do admit that there are excesses, some few excesses, but there are always avenues like the Office of the Health Administrator to solve such problems. If a client comes and something arises, that is the place that all of us need to go to ensure that whatever problem that we have is addressed. And in this particular case, we do not think that anybody intended to discriminate against anyone, just that people don't know how the systems works. And if you go to a place where you don't understand the system, the best thing is to find out. And we think that that was not done. That is why we are where we are today. We are calling on the security agencies to act and act on this decisively. We need cases such as this to serve professionals have sworn so others will learn to protect the life of the vulnerable and sick. And so there should not be any circumstance that will warrant the same persons that we have sworn to protect inflict pain and harm on us.
Well, the Health Ministry says it wants to tackle complaints in assessing healthcare head-on and has thus set up special correspondents to deal with complaints. My colleague Michael Ashale is in the studio to help us understand details of that particular correspondence.
Well, Kenneth, if you're asking about the minister's statement, so we've just seen that right after his press conference, he put out a particular flyer where he's sort of trying to collate or give room for medical professionals or those within the hospital health facilities have a channel to sort of respond or report some incidents of this that has reared its head in recent times here. So it sort of gives the details as that you can call two numbers, 020-688-788-2 or 020-688-7884, and then there's an email attached to it. It says that complaints@moh.gov.gh. These individuals first of all have an opportunity to also report to their various HRs, and that does not happen, or they want to escalate it to the ministry, then they can use any of these lines.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael Ashale, for that details, Pearl.
Well, Kenneth, we also know that the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Rashid Pelpo, told the Public Accounts Committee that he has summoned the Labour Commission over the attack on a nurse at the Ridge Hospital.
Labour Commission, which has all the duties of ensuring that single issues like these are handled effectively. So I have called a meeting with them, and they would look at it more comprehensively and advise on what next they will need to strengthen their own capacity to make sure the whole country is covered. The Labour Commission has requested that it will be of great importance if we can have regional offices which will look at it comprehensively throughout the country, so we don't have situations where there will be a situation which is out of reach with our duty to individual workers.
Well, so you will recall that the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association gave a 48-hour ultimatum to the Ghana Police Service to arrest Ralph St. Williams, the man at the center of the issues, and his accomplices. Well, that ultimatum elapsed at 4 p.m. earlier today. Well, the association held an emergency national executive meeting a while ago to determine their next line of action. And joining me on the telephone lines is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Mr. David Tinkran. I also have on Zoom CDD's Kwame Esiedu Sapon. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. But let me start with you, David. The association's 48-hour ultimatum to government ended at 4 p.m. What next for you?
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening to your cherished listeners and the great minds on the other call. Indeed, the ultimatum expires. We have released a statement after the minister's press conference. We held an emergency national executive committee meeting, and based on that, we have come up with a statement. I'm sure your station is here to cite it. But what we are trying to say is that we have studied the issues, we have reviewed the position of quite a number of things. We sent people to the emergency department to look at how populated the area is. We have had series of conversations with security agencies, especially the police. They've given us palpable assurance, apart from the fact that one of the associates of Ralph St. Williams have been arrested. They are doing everything possible within their mandate to bring the chief perpetrator of this heinous crime and his associates to face the full rigors of the law. Based on those considerations and the maximum support and solidarity we have had from sister unions and the good people of Ghana, the well-meaning people of Ghana, we have taken a decision to support the investigation and to continue to dialogue with the management of the hospital and other security agencies, as aforementioned, and the employer to make sure that we get to the bottom of this matter and to also support the employer and the committee that have been put together to comprehensively come up with a solution that would deal once and for all some of these infractions that threatens the peaceful coexistence of healthcare workers who have been trained and licensed to offer essential services to the good people of Ghana.
Okay, Mr. Tinkran, you've had the minister say at a press conference today that those who are launching personal attacks against his person should desist from that. Do you have any reaction to it?
I'm not too sure anybody has any qualms with the minister. We cannot launch any personal attacks on him. But we will always speak truth to power. We respect him, we love him, we want to support him succeed, but certainly not at the detriment of nurses and midwives in Ghana.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. David Tinkran is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Let me now bring in CDD Ghana's Kwame Esiedu Sapon. Grateful for your time this evening. He's joining us on Zoom. 10 million Ghana cedis lost annually due to medical negligence. That's quite a huge amount of money. What really should we do to stop this from recurring every year?
Thank you, Blessing. And good evening today. You see, it's an interesting question you asked. What we need to do, that we need to have context. Medical negligence is a massive problem globally. Most countries, in fact, in the West, it's more serious because lawsuits fly all over the place. And therefore, in the UK where I practice, every professional has to have personal professional indemnity insurance because even if your organization is sued, you can be sued individually for your actions or inactions if it is perceived that it has led to untoward conditions to a patient. So that is known. But you see, I want to put this into context. The minister has raised the issue of medical negligence because of the incident that happened in Rich Hospital and perhaps statements that have been made by Wale regarding the fact that he lost a sister due to perceived medical negligence and the fact that that was his trigger point based on the circumstances of the day when all this kicked off. I have had the opportunity, and I'm quite sure, Blessed, you have, to watch the CCTV because it's now public aspect of the CCTV. And I've seen what went on. For me, if you put the minister's statement, what I've seen on CCTV, which indicates that there most likely was some other aggression. There was aggression. Because you see, you have to put it in context. As a health professional, the last thing I'll condone, because even if you come to the facilities that I operate in the UK, one of the notices on the wall is that we reserve the right to refuse his service if you are verbally, physically, or emotionally abusive to our professionals. It is clearly stated at every point. So I'm not one who would condone any form of aggression, whether it is verbal, physical, or emotional, because a health professional, one of whom I am, doesn't deserve that. But again, I am not one who would condone medical negligence because it comes as a cost to the facility, and even the insurance cover is a huge problem.
The concern really is that most of the time these health professionals who engage in this medical negligence are not held to high account. Do you think it's about time, we held them to high account?
That is why, Blessed, I'm making the balance, because it is a fine balance globally. And that is why I am saying that the minister had to bring this up, because the main perpetrator had raised issues with that. But that doesn't take away the fact that even if you have an issue with medical negligence, there's a process by which you get that addressed. You do not take it out on the health professional. That I wouldn't condone. So yes, it has to be dealt with because it's becoming a huge cost for the Ghana Health Service. And I'm sure that, what do you call it? Dr. Tinkwa would not run away from it, and I wouldn't run away from it because we've been on other platforms when him and I have discussed this holistically. But what we need to look at is, does that warrant an attack on a health professional? And my answer is no. Then finally, what I would say, you asked Dr. Tinkra David, the Minister of Health, has made a statement around attacking his person. Though David is my brother, I would say to him, and as health professionals and as professionals, I think some of his utterances have not helped the situation regarding it coming across as though he was attacking the health minister. And I say this, and I make a caveat to it. Everyone knows that Commander Takanda has been a friend right before he became health minister, and I never ran away from it. In fact, I was with him at Commander Buhari's funeral just last week, and everyone knows that. But I'm one person who, even if my best friend goes wrong, I tell it publicly. I've even clashed with my own brother on your networks, and you guys know that because he holds a different portfolio than I do.
Okay.
So I am saying this to the point that maybe at certain points emotions took the better part of Dr. Tinkwari, and that's fine. We all are emotional animals. But I think we need to take the emotions out because there are so many things staying up here. There could be an issue for, action against the perpetrators based on the CCTV I've seen. And I raise my hand to that if that happens, that should happen because health professionals don't deserve that.
Okay, Mr. Kwame Saponisiedu, thank you very much. He's with CDD Ghana.
Or Kenneth, away from health-related issues, the Chamber of Mines is warning the Minerals Commission to tread carefully with its radical shake-up of mining laws. On Wednesday, the Commission reviewed that lease durations will be slashed from 30 years to 15, with renewals capped at just 10 years. The Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Martin Ayisi, made the revelation during an engagement on the overview of the mining regime in Ghana. My colleague Maxwell Aklobotu has more in this report read to you.
The Minerals Commission has outlined major reforms to Ghana's mining laws governing the registration and operation of mining firms. Among them is a new limit on the duration of mining leases. Chief Executive Officer Martin Ayisi explained that the 30-year leases have not benefited the nation as companies often fail to undertake extensive exploration. He says this makes it necessary to restrict leases to a maximum of 15 years.
There is no need to give these 30-year leases. It's never helped us. So we have decided that now the upper limit of mining leases should be 15 years.
He also revealed the abolition of development agreement, which granted some mining companies special terms beyond the standard leases.
We have decided to now abolish development agreements. So all these issues of development agreements, investment agreements where countries are giving, some companies are giving some special arrangements, we're taking them from the law.
Well, meanwhile, Director of Analysis, Research and Finance at the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Christopher Nyako, says the proposal, if implemented, will hurt the industry and may deter investments in the sector. He explained why.
Our position is that this impacts on the sustainability and the viability of the mining industry. Essentially strikes at the heart of the long-term sustainability of the mining industry. And our position is because, one, it has implications on the security of the lease. And once you're going to touch the security of a mining lease, it also has implications on the risk profile of the country and the investment decisions that follow thereof. So generally, investors are going to take a short-term view or a short-term approach as far as mining is concerned when it comes to Ghana.
The Chamber of Mines is proposing that the renewal should rather be tied to the viability and project economics and not a fixed-term upper limit.
Okay. So our position as a chamber on this matter is that you should tie the renewals to the project's own economics. So if a company has undertaken exploration and the exploration is showing that maybe there's a life of mine of 10 years or a life of mine of 15 years, a life of mine of 20 years, let's tie the renewal period to the economics of that particular project. Right. It should not be a fixed upper limit to say it's going to just be one time or whatever, one time 10 years, one time 5 years. But all we are just saying is that don't put a ceiling on it. It should be tied to the project of the economics.
Well, news just coming in indicates that Ghanaian dancehall artist Shatta Wale has been released on bail by the Economic and Organized Crime Office (YOCO) in the sum of 10 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties. He was detained on Wednesday, the 20th of August, for questioning over his purchase of a Lamborghini Urus, which U.S. authorities claimed is linked to proceeds from a $4 million crime involving Ghanaian national Nana Kwabena Amoah. Well, here's Shatta Wale's manager, Sammy Flex, confirming his release to Joy News a while ago.
I'm here to supply information to you guys, and that's it. The good news is that Shatta Wale has been granted bail and he has been released. Finally, at the moment, he's been released to go home. Once again, another good news is that the bail conditions was reduced from 10 million to 5 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties. And that is what we are all happy about. So I want to say we are grateful. God bless you so much, and thank you for your continued support. Shatta Wale is ever grateful to you guys for whatever you've done for him.
So that there is the manager of Shatta, Wale, Sammy Flex, confirming the release of the dancehall star, and the bail conditions have been varied. They were reduced from 10 to 5 million Ghana cedis. And of course, George Yafe is here already, calculating his numbers and ready for business. George, what do you have for us?
A lot happening in business, and President John Mahama is warning that over-regulating the telecom space could kill innovation and affect efforts to reduce unemployment in the country. And Bank of Ghana vows to meet all genuine dollar needs of large companies despite recent directive on payment and withdrawals of foreign currencies from commercial banks. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your offers, essentials, scented tanks, and Pepsodent, Herbal, and Charcoal. You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, President John Mahama is making a strong case for the country to take a second look at how it regulates the telecom space. Speaking at the program in Japan, the president warned that over-regulating that sector could kill innovation and affect efforts to deal with unemployment in the country.
The private sector is not for the Christmas. It will go where it can get a good rate of return on investment. And so it's government's duty to create the space for the public sector to exercise its creativity. And that is what we need to reorient the public sector to do. I was Minister of Communications in the early days when the tech ICT sector was exploding, and people were coming home and asking for licenses to set up internet cafes. And if you saw our regulator and the conditions you had to meet and all that, I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, by the time you go through that list, you'll not be able to start anything. And so when I became minister, I said, but why license them? If you want to set up an internet cafe, why don't you just open it if you have the investment? And when we did, internet cafes exploded across the country. They didn't cause any harm. They didn't lead to any coup d'etat, nothing. When we're liberalizing our telecom space, they said, oh, telecom is so important. You cannot give it to the private sector. You know, it's sensitive. The CIA would listen to our conversations and all that. I mean, today, look at the telecom sector.
President John Mahama speaking on a panel discussion program in Japan. Now, the Bank of Ghana has given the firm assurance that it would move to meet all genuine dollar needs of large businesses in the country. Now, this is coming after it announced a new set of directive that is seeking to restrict dollar payments to businesses over the counter. There is more in this report.
The Bank of Ghana in the statement said it is committed to supporting the operations of large corporates, recognizing their critical role in sustaining petroleum supply, mineral export, and other essential sectors of Ghana's economy. It also argued to this end, the bank in partnership with the government has put in place mechanisms to source and provide foreign exchange liquidity to meet legitimate import obligations of large corporates. The central bank said these measures are designed to safeguard market stability while ensuring vital supply chains remains uninterrupted. According to the central bank, this action is part of measures to deal with the recent pressure on the Ghana cedi.
And that is the DEX report. Meanwhile, the commercial banks say they fully support the actions taken by the Bank of Ghana. They are ruling out any negative impact on the operations going forward. John Ewa is the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks.
Because in our view, the significant cash withdrawal over the counter, we don't see the merit or the justification for such huge withdrawals. If you ask me as a banker that if someone came to a branch and withdrew $1 million, what possibly that company will be using the $1 million for, I will not be able to tell you. I can't pin my hand on anything that the dollar is going to do, apart from potentially going to fund some illicit activity that perhaps we do not have the evidence to support. So we are very much in the same boat with the Bank of Ghana, that our legal tender in this country is one currency, and that is the Ghana cedi. And our big corporations must learn to use the cedi in which they earn their revenue. If you ask me, this rather should help facilitate foreign currency transactions for those who really need the currency. If somebody is coming to your branch to withdraw $2 million, that one withdrawal is going to affect about.
Johnny Wale is the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks. Now, finance and economics professor Godfrey Buckin has urged government to exercise some caution in its plan to scrap the minimum capital requirement for foreign investors. Speaking to Joy Business at the Prudential Bank Special Customer Seminar on Appreciation of the Ghana City, Professor Bobkin said while the proposal may boost foreign investment inflows, it could also expose local enterprises to unfair competition.
I think we need to manage it very well so that we benefit optimally from the foreign direct investment, because we have seen that over the years the intended benefit from this FDI, even sometimes we have given tax concessions and all of that in the name that they will create jobs and all of that, but we haven't seen those jobs being created. I mean, the World Bank is telling us that between 2012 and 2023, on net basis, just around 250,000 jobs have been created. When we are talking about people entering the labor market, we are talking about people in excess of 2.7 million or so and all of that. So I'm sure that might have informed the president's drive to say that, look, we are willing to go the extra mile and all of that, but I think we need to manage it very well.
Finance and economics professor Godfrey Buckin to the stock market. If you are a shareholder of MTN Ghana, well, each share that you are holding was up by 3 pesos to close at 3 Ghana cedis, 88 pesos. That of Go was also up by 2 pesos to close at 2 Ghana cedis, 23 pesos. If you had invested on the market from the beginning of the year to now, you made more than 50% on your investment. And Kenneth, guess who is coming to dinner tonight on PM Express Business Edition? Will be engaging the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi-Sapon, on development in the tax and revenue space. And what is the Ghana Revenue Authority doing to deal with all the challenges? Is at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms. Make a date and hear the Commissioner General on development in the revenue space, the VAT issues, the recent challenge of the National Education Authority, and what is their position on that one. And that's all for business. Let's do sports, and in no time is kicking for our invitational tournament, and I just can't wait to be there.
Yeah, and the countdown is on for the 2025 Joy Sports Invitational Tournament, which is scheduled for Saturday. 48 organizations will gather at the University of Ghana Stadium in just 2 days to compete in a variety of disciplines. This year's event is sponsored by Royal Sweet Limited, Ayuda Hub, the Game Energy Drink, Yomi Yogurt, and the luckiest. Now, former Black Galaxies head coach Maxwell Kunedu has been named the new head coach for Ghana's Black Satellites. There's the under-20 national team. He replaces Desmond Ofer, who previously led the side. Kunedu, in his long coaching career, has seen him manage several top-flight clubs in the Ghana Premier League, including stints at Asante Kotoko, 11 Wonders, Legon Cities, and most recently in Swatraman FC. He guided Kotoko to the Ghana Premier League title back in 2012 and won the President's Cup in 2019. He also won the Wafu Cup of Nations in 2017 with the Black Galaxies. Now, one area where Kunedu will rely on in terms of talent identification is the GFA Elite Academy, which concluded scouting in the Bono region earlier today. Former Midiama captain Joseph Tete Zuta, who now serves as a manager for the GFA Elite Academy, disclosed the success of the exercise.
We just finished writing the BEC, the Basic Education Certificate Examination, and are awaiting their results. We are looking at those who were born 2010, 2011, and to some extent 2012. So if you are not within these categories, you don't qualify to be in the GFA Elite Academy. So basically, we let our scout some potential players in and around the region, and then they screen them, and then they brought them here. So we are here to the final selection.
Joseph Tete Zuta is now the manager of the GFA Elite Academy. Now, Crystal Palace forward Eberichi Eze will not feature in tonight's UEFA Conference League qualifier as he nears a move to Arsenal. The England winger is expected to complete his medical tomorrow with an official announcement set for the weekend. That's all for sports. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Daniel Crontin, for the latest in the world of sports. Now, if you own a Honda CR-V, Ford F-150, Range Rover or Dodge, then brace up. Your vehicle is among those flagged as highly suspicious in the Economic and Organized Crime Office's latest crackdown on stolen cars. IOCO says Ghana has become a lucrative hub for vehicles stolen abroad, particularly from Canada. Speaking on Upfront with Blessed Suga, head of Yoko's legal unit, Leo Anthony Siama, revealed that certain brands remain prime targets for organized crime.
There are certain types of vehicles that are suspicious. So, for instance, off-head, the Honda CR-V series, the Ford F-150, the Range Rover, and I think the Dodge Ram. Those particular vehicles.
These are 4 brands.
These are 4 brands that are very high in terms of the number of stolen vehicles that recover. Most of them happen to be these vehicles. So obviously, if you are going to purchase a vehicle and you want to purchase one of those vehicles, that should be a red flag for you. Secondly, if you also look at the Ghanaian market, the Ghanaian market used to be about the sale or dealing in vehicles that had been involved in accidents outside.
Salvage vehicles.
So again, if you are buying a vehicle or you look at one of those vehicles that was recently released, maybe a 2023 model, 2024 model, which is accident-free, it should be a red flag for you. That should be something to point you at doing extra. For instance, to go to the DVL, to go to the to Interpol to find out whether or not that car status is stolen. So it has to do with identification of the vehicle, the type of vehicle you're buying, the ones that will initially or promptly raise red flags whilst you want to undertake this purchase, because the obligation is on the purchaser. We are looking at the status of a vehicle.
Someone is asking that, would you go after a Toyota Corolla, for instance?
Yes.
Would you?
We've gone after. I think we have a couple of Toyota Highlanders.
No, that's a Highlander.
That's a Highlander. Well, in our defense, we've gone for. So, would you consider an Accord?
Mm-hmm.
We have Accords. So it's not like we are having preference.
Well, in the crash garages, car dealers are pointing fingers at the very agencies meant to regulate them, accusing Yoko, Customs and the DVLA of enabling the stolen vehicle trade. Well, the traders say they should not be scapegoated for unknowingly importing or selling stolen cars, arguing the security agencies must answer for how such vehicles enter Ghana in the first place. They spoke to my colleague Benedicta Adobia Asari.
The whole thing is car if carcass if US and Canada. Na car if because you bring our machines in airport. Or one say car is stolen. But car back Ghana be do no pay. Ghana say local say car is stolen.
National security and Yoko are to blame for the stolen vehicles in the country. How come they are unable to tell at the port that these cars are stolen until after they are on the market or even after they have been bought? It's unfair and unacceptable.
Because one, you could phone national security for. There's no way, say, car. I've realized
our leaders aren't helping us. There's no way Yoko and national security won't inspect cars which arrive to the country from abroad. All these cars undergo the necessary checks, so if they are stolen cars in the country, then it's the fault of Yoko and national security. Why would they wait for us to clear cars and sell them before saying it's stolen?
Carry a stolen to the port, that's a big content as well. Checky and Sana Yikano.
Well, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, says it does not have the means to determine if a vehicle brought for registration is stolen or not. Director of Corporate Affairs at DVLA, Stephen Atu, says that the vehicle is cleared by the Customs Division. They have no reason to stop the registration.
Before you come to us, you would have gone through the customs clearance and come to us with an indication, a clearance from customs indicating that this vehicle is cleared with us with all the documentation and record. You can go ahead and register the vehicle in the name of the individual.
Right.
That's how we come in. So it becomes very difficult to say that DVLA can spot a stolen vehicle at the point of registration. So the point is, even in Ghana, even inland, if a person commits a crime and the crime is not reported, it's difficult for anybody to know that a crime has been committed. That's the whole thing. So the same way, it is possible for a person to steal a vehicle from, say, Canada.
Right.
And to the extent that the car owner from whom the car is stolen has not reported, it becomes difficult for you to know that this car is a stolen vehicle. Now, how did they even get the clearance to place that vehicle on ship to land on our shores to be cleared here? So the only way, so I think sometimes we should not be overly dramatic over some of the concerns that are being raised. But the point is, if the concern that is being raised about stolen cars coming into Ghana there's no way of identifying those vehicles that have come into the country, then that becomes a subject of concern.
Yeah, the Director of Corporate Affairs at the DVLA, Stephen Atu. Now, joining us right now is a private legal practitioner, Jude Atakara Tufo. Good evening and thank you for your time on Newsnight. Just want to find out, should I be legally responsible for innocently buying a car believed to be stolen when DVLA, the Customs Division, and IOCO should have done their checks before I bought it?
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Good evening. I was just finding out, I don't know if you had the question, but I was just finding out from you if I should be held responsible for innocently buying a car believed to be stolen when DVLA, the Customs Division, and IOCO should have done their checks before I bought it.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. If you could speak up a little bit.
Okay, let's try it again. Was just finding out if, as an individual who's going to buy a car, I should be held legally responsible for innocently buying a vehicle believed to be stolen when DVLA, the Customs Division, and IOCO should have done their checks before I bought it.
Right. Thank you, and good evening to your listeners. And this question normally comes up when a report is made. Usually with the state authorities and duty bodies such as IOCO, the police, as you already mentioned. However, you must note that there are many times or instances where, and I like the word you have used, an innocent party or innocent person may buy a car, and it may end up that the car in question is the subject of a stolen item. The position of law is quite straightforward.
Okay.
In law, we have something we call you cannot give what you don't own. So basically, when we say that, it means that if you buy a car as innocent as possible from another person, where that car is the subject of theft, the law says that generally, if you are a good faith purchaser, which comes back to the word we used earlier on, that is innocent, then basically the law has some room to give you to be able to claim ownership to that car.
Okay.
Generally, a thief or a car which is a subject of theft has no room for an innocent party. What I mean by this is that if a party steals a car, or a car is a subject of theft, which is sold to another party, that party can never claim ownership or can never have title in that car.
Okay.
However, the law creates room for what we call an avoidable title. There are instances in the Sale of Goods Act where a buyer may be considered as an innocent buyer. And these are times where that innocent buyer buys goods from someone who had goods in his possession from an original owner through misrepresentation or some other means on the basis of a sale. And so under those circumstances, an innocent buyer can be allowed to own the goods under the law, provided an original owner does not come back claiming ownership from that innocent party. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we must try and create a distinction between theft or a stolen car as against instances where an innocent party may be considered. So where there is theft involved, we don't have any issue of someone being an innocent buyer. Okay?
Yes.
However, if the goods get into your possession after a purchase on the basis that you are an innocent buyer, the only way the law will recognize you as an innocent buyer is where a seller sold these goods to you or sold the car to you on the premise that they were selling it as if they were the owner. But they may have retrieved those goods through some misrepresentation.
Mr. Jude Atakara-Tufo is a private legal practitioner, and thank you so much for your time on Newsnight.
Well, let's now head to the Ashanti region because the Asante Hene Otumfuo Seitu II has announced the final funeral rites of the late Asante Hema Nana Kunedu Yadom III will take place from Sunday, September 14th to Thursday, September 18th, 2025. The rites, steeped in rich Ashanti tradition, are expected to draw chiefs, queen mothers, dignitaries, and mourners from across Ghana and beyond. Well, the palace says elaborate cultural displays, traditional mourning rituals, and homage-paying ceremonies will mark the occasion in honor of the late Queen Mother who passed away earlier this month. Well, let's stay in that particular region and speak to our resident correspondent, Nana Boachi Iyadom there. Nana, paint a picture for us. We know the 1 week observation was held today. Tell us what happened and who were there.
Well, it was a very colorful event and a blend or a mix of culture and tradition today at the Mencha Palace, the bedroom, to be specific, where we had the 1 week observance of the late Asante Hema and Nana Kunedu Yadom III. We had dignitaries, including the British High Commissioner to Ghana, the former President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo, the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We had former President John Ajekum Kufuor, former Ministers of State, and then members of the New Patriotic Party. We also had members of the National Democratic Congress, led by the National Chairman Johnson Asiedun Ketia. That aside, we had government delegation representing the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The delegation was led by the Vice President, His Excellency Professor J. Nano Poku-Ajiman.
Well, Nana Boachi Iyadom reports from Kumasi in the Ashanti region. We have more on Joy News Prime later on the Joy News channel. Well, on our top story this evening, renowned Ghanaian musician Shatta Wale has been released on bail by the Economic and Organized Crime Office in the sum of 5 million cedis with 2 sureties after being detained on Wednesday for questioning over his purchase of a luxury car in 2019, where we'll leave you with a profile of the popular musician Shatta Wale. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
My name is Pelufuri.